Hey, I just got back from PAX South yesterday. I'm still sort of decompressing from that, so this is just going to be a really quick video today. But I wanted to go over the vertical slice milestone again, sort of look at how the schedule for that milestone shaped up over time, and then look at how that's going to affect the next few months of development as I try to ship Gunmetal Arcadia 0 in June. As I do that, I'm also going to be playing through the build, and as a reminder, you can download and play this build yourself. This is a single level from the game, taken to a believable production quality, and if you do have time to play it, I'd love to hear your feedback on it. So I'm going to jump in here. I think I've said this before, but this is going to be probably the second or third level in the game. I'm planning to have probably 5 or 6 levels, hopefully 6 unless my schedule just goes completely out of whack. But one of my goals with this vertical slice milestone was, even though I already had a lot of features and a lot of content sort of in production or already developed, I wanted to challenge myself to make a new level completely from scratch, make a new tile set from scratch, and sort of get a better feel for how long it would take to make the sort of content in the time frame that I'm looking at for the remainder of development. So I think I did pretty well. I'm happy with how this level came together. There were some places that I had to make cuts, especially in regards to the tile set. I was hoping to have, I guess, more one-off decorative elements. For instance, I was imagining maybe you would see statues or fountains somewhere in this town area, and I didn't schedule enough time to work on the tile set. I scheduled a day for that, and that just was not long enough. So I'll be taking that into account in the future. But on the other hand, I can also, I think, find places where I can leverage existing content in clever ways. That was something when I started going back through the gray box structure of this level and painting it in, actually figuring out what tiles would be everywhere. I found a lot of places where I could reuse tiles in clever ways with different color palettes. And I mean, yeah, you can tell it's the same tile when you look at it. I'm not not trying to pull the wool over anyone's eyes there, but I do think that creating unique tiles for every single application in the game probably is not going to be necessary. I can lean on reusable content a little bit, and I think as I start making more and more levels in the future, probably I'll have a bigger sort of palette of existing content to pull from there. So I'm hoping that will pan out well and sort of allow me to free up some time in my schedule for any sort of unexpected emergencies. The other thing that sort of came up during Vertical Slice was I had scheduled time for things like attract mode and checkpointing, dying, and game over. And I'd scheduled a day for each of these things, and I think for the initial implementation, that was accurate. What I wasn't necessarily anticipating was the amount of work that would be involved in dealing with the intersection of those features and where bugs and additional work would arise. For instance, when you're looking at an attract mode now has to also involve saving off the state of random number generators and dealing with serialization of random number generators and being able to save off a checkpoint. Also, that deals with serialization, so there's some intersection between those features. And there was a lot of stuff that popped up there where I ended up spending a lot of evenings and weekends that I hadn't scheduled at all trying to fix things that I had assumed would just sort of work. So I'm going to be either just scheduling additional days to deal with bugs and unexpected emergencies in the future, or try to get a better sense of the scope of tasks before I schedule them out, which is always the trick. And I've never been good at scheduling, so I'm at least happy that this vertical slice came together as well as it did. Looking at what the remainder of development is going to be like, I'm planning for the game to be 5 or 6 levels. Each one I want to have a unique end boss, possibly a unique mid boss, but I can definitely leverage existing content there if I have to. And two, I think it can be interesting when you see an enemy early in the game who is a mid-boss but then becomes a standard enemy by the end of the game. I like that sort of dynamic in games. I think that's sort of an interesting bit of storytelling or implicit narrative. So I might look for places where I can do that. But yeah, I'm going to be doing a few levels. I'm imagining probably like 2 levels in the city, 2 levels in the wilderness, and 2 levels in the alien hive at the end of the game. Of course, in the style of games like Contra, of course everything has to culminate in going down into the alien hive where everything is sort of creepy and made out of organic matter. So of course I'm doing that in this game. But yeah, you know, I already have some tile sets in progress for the wilderness. Of course I've shown like rocks and trees and stuff that I'm working on, so I'm hoping that between reusing existing content and having some of that content already in place, hopefully I can find space in my schedule to deal with the sort of unexpected things, and hopefully I won't have to you know, crunch 24/7 all the way through June to get this game done. I think I'm finding I had expected enemies and bosses to be sort of the biggest time sink, and that hasn't really been the case, actually. Enemy designs have gone pretty fast now that I have some sort of initial movement and attacks and those sorts of things ironed out. Mostly it's a case of figuring out, well, okay, what's actually the design for this particular enemy? How should they move? When should they move? When should they try to attack? Should they be aware of the player, or should they just sort of follow their own path? Those sorts of things. But I'm having less of the cases of like, oh, I don't have any support for allowing enemies to move this way. So, yeah, enemy designs have actually been going fairly quickly. The things that are taking the longest are just the content creation, you know, tile sets, designing sprites for enemies. Animation, of course, is not my strong suit at all, so you know, I'm looking for ways that I can sort of make animation easier on myself, or again leverage existing content. Of course, the biped enemies who you see walking around outside, the grunt enemies, they do use the same, the player's own sprite, just with a different head pasted on, and I don't know if that's going to be the sprite I ship with, but I think it could be. I don't necessarily think that that's bad or something that I couldn't do. But well, I was hoping I was going to kill the boss there, because I could just be like, oh, and that's vertical slice. I don't think I have enough content necessarily to talk my way through the second half of this level again. But yeah, if you'd like to download this and try it out yourself, you know, I'd love to hear your feedback, and that can help me sort of you know, course correct for any mistakes I may have made, and you know, help steer the ship in for a landing in June. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.